So you will have seen already a couple of other YouTube recordings on what are Australian sheep breeding values and how to use them and why they're important. This next presentation is to introduce you to a new tool called RamSelect and how it can make the use of ASBVs so much simpler for people who are wanting to buy rams for their commercial sheep breeding sheep operation. So what RamSelect does, it's a website, ramselect.com.au. It uses the power of Australian sheep breeding values, but in a simpler format so that it's easier for you as someone who doesn't look at them every day to make use of that genetic information. The breeding values in RamSelect are always up to date on a daily basis from sheep genetics, and there are a series of ram sale catalogues that have been created by ram breeders available on the site. And they're available for merinos, doonies, terminals and maternal rams. So there's three really important things that can happen in RamSelect. You can define your breeding objective, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment. You can rank rams according to your breeding objective and to meet your needs. And thirdly, you can set filters to refine that search even more accurately for your needs. So when you first open up the site, this is what you see on the search page. On the left-hand side, you have some slider bars that describe the main profit drivers in a sheep enterprise. So this is a terminal ram selection. You can see that up the top. And we're looking for 50 rams in the list, and we're prepared to look at all terminal breeds. And we're starting with an index called the Lamb 2020 Eating Quality Index. And the settings on these slider bars is equivalent, gives an equivalent ranking to that index. So that's your starting point. And you can see on the right-hand side, we have a series of rams ranked for that standard industry index. But as a user, you can come in and actually refine the breeding objective from that standard index. So you might want to make some change to perhaps the amount of emphasis you want to put on growth or on the carcass traits, or you might want to put more emphasis on eating quality. And you can do that by simply shifting the slider bars to the right or the left. So more emphasis to the right and less emphasis to the left. If you want to go into the detail of single individual Australian sheep breeding values, you can open up the show button to the right-hand side of the sliders, and that'll show you the individual traits. So here I've opened up the growth slider, and you can see I can adjust the balance between weaning weight and post-weaning weight. And in this lower example, I've opened the slider for eating quality, and we could adjust the balance of emphasis between intramuscular fat and shear force. So that's the first thing you do in terms of setting a breeding objective. As I said, start with the standard industry index, use the primary slider bars that describe the major profit drivers to adjust the emphasis. And if you want to go to more detail, open up the secondary slider bars to do that and adjust on individual ASBVs. Once you're happy with the breeding objective, you'll see it summarised in the pie chart on the screen. And when you're happy with it, you can save it using the save function on that search page. And you can also go update list, and it'll re-rank the animals on the site based on that breeding objective. So here we have a ranked list that's come back after we've updated the list. And you can see I've searched here on an individual stud, but equally you could be searching across multiple studs at the same time. So on the left-hand side, we have the rank of the rams, so from 1 to 8 in this list. The second column shows us what the lot number for that ram is in the sale catalogue, so it's easy to find the animal on sale day. The third column shows us the animal's individual identification number, the stud that it came from, and the sale catalogue that it appears in. And those animals are ranked according to the settings you put on those slider bars and the emphasis you put on the different trait groups. So you can also have the capacity to save the ram list when you're happy with it, and it's just off to the right-hand side at the top of the screen. You can't quite see it in this slide. If you want to see the detail of the breeding values associated with each ram, you can open up this little triangle to the left-hand side of the rank, and all the individual ASBVs appear. The blue ones indicate that the animal is in the top 10 percentile for that trait. So it's a trait leader, and as well as having the ASBV value, we have the accuracy for the breeding value and the industry average for that trait displayed for each trait. There's another function within RamSelect that allows you to actually even refine your search further by setting minimum and maximum criteria on particular traits. So you can see here in a terminal selection you might be wanting to keep birth weight quite moderate. You don't want rams that are going to have lambs that are either too light or too heavy because you're going to have problems with lamb survival and dystocia at lambing time. So I've set a moderate range for the birth weight trait here, and I've also excluded any animal that is positive for worm egg count because worm resistance is a big issue. Having resistance to worms is a big issue in the operation here. So that's another way. So anything that's outside those ranges will be excluded from the list of rams that you receive. And the other filter that you can apply here is to search based on a postcode. So the beauty of that facility is that it allows you to search across multiple studs, but within a particular distance from a postcode. So you might say, look, I don't want to drive more than 300 kilometres from home, and just search all the studs within that distance. So there's some very important filters that you can also apply and save with your breeding objective. Having saved your search list, you can save it, and you can always find it again under the My Flock section of the website, and just looking under My Saved List, and you can reopen any of these searches at a later date and see what the rams and how they were ranked for your breeding objective. If you want to find your saved breeding objective later on, you can. It will appear in the drop-down menu here with the standard industry indexes above the slider bars on the home search page, and it will also appear under My Saved Breeding Objectives in the My Flock section of the website. So you can see here I've saved a composite 2017 breeding objective, and it's sitting there, and I can reinstate that at any time.
I was just wondering, are all sale rams on RamSelect?
All sale rams that are within sheep genetics can be on RamSelect, but it's up to the breeder to create a sale catalogue and load it onto the site, and then they're available to you to search for rams. But one of the beauties of RamSelect is that it excludes all the animals that are in the sheep genetics database but not advertised for sale. So you've got a much smaller group of animals to search through.
So does it cost anything to use the RamSelect tool for ram selections?
RamSelect has been free for the first 2 years, but we are going to be putting a user pay system in for this 2017-18 ram selling season, but it will be quite moderate in cost, and likely that there'll be a charge for the breeder to list their rams and a small charge for ram buyers to store their information on the site.
Is there any areas of the site that will remain free for me to use as a ram buyer?
Yeah, so ram buyers will be able to come in and search for rams and print a ranked list out for free. The charges will apply for a ram buyer once they want to store information for the future.